Hey there, I'm Lance.
I'm Jeremy.
And we are Hard to Master, where we take a look at games that are hard to master, such as
the Loop expansion, the Revenge of Fauxzilla. This is the first Loop expansion. Recently, they've come out with some information on a new one that should be releasing soon. I think we're going to get our hands on it and give you another short video to tell you why would you want that and if it's a fun expansion to add. So in this one, we're just going to tell you basically, as you can see, we don't have the whole game out on the table. We have another video, which I'm sure Lance can link, and you can find that by hitting something in the corner. But in addition to that, we're just going to talk about what's new in this expansion and why you would like it. I did have the opportunity to teach the characters of this expansion over and over at Gen Con 2022. In addition to a couple other games while we were working the Pandasaurus booth.
And this is from Pandasaurus too, by the way.
Yeah, and so those thoughts are not, because we work with them, is not why we're necessarily reviewing this or will have any bearing on it. We will tell you genuinely, do we like it? Do we not like it? Would you or do you need to add it to your game? So let's hop right into it.
Yeah, let's look at some of the components here. I think the first thing that a lot of people want to know about are those characters that you can play as. You do have two new heroes to play as. One is going to be Young Faux, Faux Kleinschlag. And so this is Dr. Faux prior to him becoming evil Dr. Faux.
His backside.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm showing you his backside. And these are stickers, decals from
Levity Games on Etsy. I love the stickers that Amon does. And so just about anything that I have that he has stickers for, I usually buy it, which we bought the original set. And so when these came available, and I got a set, Lance got a set.
We'll link that down below in case you want to check that out. So anyhow, this is young Dr. Faux, and he has his own player board. And his special ability is once per turn during your action phase, you may rotate Dr. Faux's machine to an era of your choice, because you are Dr. Faux in a sense. So you are able to control his machine, point it to a certain region, and a lot of young Dr. Faux's starting cards are going to have something to do with the era that Dr. Faux is pointing to. So, such as, for instance, move one clone in your era to Dr. Faux's era. So controlling him allows you to manipulate what is happening and use your cards to the best of your abilities and really maximize your powers there. So you want to talk about the twins?
Yeah, in addition to young Dr. Faux, we do have the Peak twins. And as you can see, they can have benefits when working together or being in the same era, but they also can move independently. So to read exactly what there says, it says the twins are treated as two agents that you control. Each time you perform an action, choose which twin to use. So you are in both eras, so you can perform those actions in both eras. In addition, one thing that you cannot do is, as you know, in the Loop, if you watched our video or played the game yourself, you know that if you end your movement in a region that has an artifact card, you can pick that card up and put it on the top of your deck. The one stipulation is when using the twins, if you are in two regions that both have a card, you cannot pick them both up. You must pick one of those cards and put it on, if you choose to take it, but you cannot take both. So
that'd be a little OP.
So these characters, they are twins, as you know. A lot of twins say they have that innate sense of when another one is hurt or something happens to them, they kind of get a sense or a feeling. And that's kind of how they are, because they can move throughout the board into different eras and work on completing objectives.
So the twin bond even exists beyond time.
I guess so. In this game it does.
You also have some extra cards that you can shuffle into your deck of cards with the base game. But you also have a couple of new missions that you can play with. We have Order Out of Chaos. Use an artifact in your hand in its origin era in 6 different eras. You can work to accomplish that. And we also have the Antimatter Charge. Use a black hole artifact in your hand in this era 3 times, once per turn. So those are 2 new objectives that you can mix in with all of the other missions.
And we will say that just about everything in this expansion does have this symbol here in the corner.
It does,
It is nice to point out that you can find and remove things fairly quickly because the symbol is very easy to recognize. It resembles this character,
the Fauxzilla. So, one of the other huge things with this new expansion are the 2 new level or game modes that you are going to be playing as. You have the Fauxzilla Apocalypse, and how you're going to be working with that is you need to actually defeat the Fauxzilla here. You're going to have some special rules. As long as the heart goes on, the game continues. If there are 4 more vortexes on the board, so you're not worrying about vortexes necessarily killing you, although you still want to manage that, because 2 vortexes in the same era will still kill you. Fauxzilla is going to be taking actions throughout the course of the game, and you're going to be setting up these traps in the different eras of the board. And you're going to have cubes on these traps, and as these cubes move forward, that's going to increase the amount of rift cubes that could drop on them. And you're trying to play cards of the different suits. And when you're able to do that and have the good cubes, the green cubes on all of these, then you can set off that trap when the Fauxzilla is there. So this is a little bit of trying to get him in this particular spot, playing cards of the different suits, and setting this trap to be able to harm him. You do that so many times, and you will be able to defeat the Fauxzilla. You also have the 7 Kaiju Balls module that you can play with, and this is going to have different Kaiju Balls on each of the 7 different eras of the board, 1 for each one, corresponding to what they show you on there. And what you're going to be doing in this particular version of the game, you're going to be going around the board, playing cards that match that era so that you can pick up these balls, and then playing a card again of that matching era so that you can seal them in. And once you've sealed them in, then you are able to win the game. However, what Dr. Faux is going to be doing in the Fauxzilla, they're going to be going around the board and trying to take these balls back from you and put them on the nest. And once they get on the nest, they can be quite difficult for you to get them off the nest. So it's a bit of a managing of resources and playing your cards in a particular way so that you can collect these balls and do it quickly, because he's going to be getting them quickly as well. So,
and an additional benefit is whenever you do steal that, it does create an additional place to place a rift cube, which could help to prolong your game or that era, because it may have 3, but you have an additional spot because you sealed that space with the Kaiju Ball.
And unlike the Fauxzilla Apocalypse, you can still lose the game with 4 vortexes. So 2 new ways to play the game. Let's just share our brief thoughts on this and what we feel like it adds to the base game, and if you need this expansion. For me, I think the highlight of this expansion are the 2 new heroes. I think having the addition of one that can break apart and you can control 2 different guys, and one that actually can manipulate the direction Dr. Faux is facing, that's huge. That can help you immensely, and it's a bit like having the one character whose name I can't pronounce, the blue one, who is able to move anywhere on the board. Yeah. That character, I feel like, is one that you almost absolutely need in your games if you want to have a good, solid chance of winning. I feel like these 2 characters are right on par with the level of importance as that particular character.
I think that the expansion, if you have the base game, it's not super expensive, and you need to get it.
Yeah.
And I would say the characters are our main thing. I do like their 2 additional modes. I mean, it's okay to have these as well and throw them into your game. That's a plus. You do have a few extra cards that you can put in that are a plus. But the main thing that you're going to want this for are the characters. In the base game, there's just a couple that I don't ever choose to play with that I'm not big fan of.
Mr. Time, or I think that's his name, the pink
I'm
guy.
not going to name which ones.
It's just I might have said
it in the previous video. I don't remember. But I think these are very strong, and especially when you're playing the harder modes, they can definitely help. This is a game where I prefer to drop the cubes because I am much more lucky at rolling dice and dropping cubes, as you've heard in the other video, in several videos. And so I feel like we get really close to losing. And if it weren't for some
Peter's right there on the edge,
very strategic dropping of cubes into the tower, everybody's like, oh yeah, we should have lost like two rounds ago.
Yeah,
and so I feel like these characters do help. They bring much more to the table. They're very strong and they're very cool characters. There's also some very cool characters in the original game. I just feel like there's a couple characters that I don't think that are very strong and that I don't find super interesting, that I prefer to not. If it's up to me and someone wants to play it, I'll play with them. I know it might be a little harder of a game, but it's usually not a character that I am going to choose at all.
So if you are somebody that typically plays games at the higher player counts for what the game calls for, if you're going to play this game at 4 players, I would say you almost absolutely need this new expansion to add in these stronger characters to play with so that somebody's not having to be stuck playing a character from the base game that's not that great.
Or if you're having a hard time winning even the base game, I feel like adding both these characters will help make that quite a bit easier. I don't think that you have to play with both in every game. I feel like at times that is a little powerful. And if you're playing the base mode and you put both of those in, I can tell you from my experience at Gen Con, at times it can feel like it's a little easy. So I wouldn't say maybe put both of them in unless you're really struggling to win a game. If you're playing the harder modes, I think putting the hardest modes, I think putting both of them in will give you a better chance of succeeding for once. But I think that both characters are interesting enough. Being able to move both of these around the board lets you have the opportunity to do more.
It does.
And in this game, you want to loop as many times as you can. It feels good to loop 3 times, almost clear the board, and be like, dang, man,
Look at everything I did.
I cleared off both of those spots we thought were going to be tough, where they each have 1 cube, if any. And look, we moved clones around, and I've completed a mission as well, where I've gotten a cube on both of these mission tiles.
Now, that's not to say that the new modes to play in this game are fun as well. I really like the Fauxzilla Apocalypse one because you're not actually even playing with the mission tiles. You are just playing with these traps. So it's a completely different objective that you're trying to accomplish.
Your favorite mode in here?
I think it is.
I like the kaiju balls.
You like the balls better, okay?
Whoa.
The kaiju
I mean, that joke came up quite a bit in the game, but I prefer the kaiju ball mode.
Well, I prefer these traps. I like trying to play the different suits of the different cards where the traps are. I think that's another way of really having to kind of stretch your thinking and strategy with this particular game, because you're not going to have all of the different suits that you need because each character is suited for different suits more so than others. And so you really kind of have to teamwork and say, well, you're much better in the spiral one, so you need to go over here where we need that spiral. Like that's a fun little thing to work out with this game. So
I think each game mode from the base to this does make it different, and I do like that there's different options to play. I do like both of these modes. I just felt like because we played this one 2-player and we played the other one with 3 or 4 players, I think 4-player, and it was just more fun.
It was a big experience for sure.
And it was still it is still very tough. I mean, we won at the last turn.
We did.
Which we had 2 or 3 zones ready to just explode. And we took it out on the last turn. So
all that to say, you're not going to go wrong with this expansion. You're going to have a good time no matter what you do and what you're playing it for. I think it's one that if you're a fan of the base game, you're going to need this. You're going to want it. You're going to add everything that's in it to your base game and play with it at some point. I assume these components are going to be compatible with the components that come out of the new expansion as well.
Yeah, I would assume.
So, you know, you're going to want to be a completionist. You're going to want to get that one. You're going to want to get this one.
That's me. That's not me. That's me.
I think that's most gamers. So, either way, folks,
portion of us.
That's what you have here with this new expansion for the Loop on the Revenge of Fauxzilla. And plus, look at this mini. This mini is fantastic. I really like this giant Fauxzilla mini. So, but anyhow, that's what you have here with it. Leave us some comments down below. Let us know what you think about the Loop, the base game, as well as this new expansion.
And if you're interested in a new expansion, which we hopefully should be covering fairly soon, we're working that out. So,
all right. Well. Make sure to hit the thumbs up to like this video, subscribe to the channel so that you can be notified whenever our new video comes out on what's to come from this game. And hit the bell icon to be notified of all of our great new content. I'm Lance.
I'm Jeremy.
And we are Hard to Master, where we take a look at games that are hard to master. We'll catch you next time.
See ya.